Hi everyone, welcome back to the Olive YouTube channel. Today I have with me Ellie.
Hello.
She's one of our Olive midwives and she has been working out in Melbourne for over a year now.
About 18 months.
Yeah, 18 months now. And Ellie's at home back in the UK visiting for her friend's wedding, a family holiday. And so I've snapped up the chance to invite her over for a chat all about her journey. So welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for coming all this way.
No, thank you.
And Ellie's actually brought her granddad with her today, so he's sitting in the corner watching. But I just think it's so nice that we're all sort of so family oriented, and I think that's like quite, it sort of really describes Olive because we try and create communities. Tell us about Ellie. What was your upbringing like? Where did you live? Obviously not exactly where you live, but where did you live? And what made you get into midwifery?
So I live kind of Warwickshire, Staffordshire area, so Midlands area. And I went to university in Leicester when I was 18 to study midwifery. I actually studied with a couple of the Olive girls,
Did you?
which is really nice.
Aww.
Yeah. And I kind of went, I always knew I wanted to do something in healthcare, and I think pregnancy still fascinates me. Like, I've been a midwife for 5 years and it still fascinates me. And then I went kind of on a whim. Like, I did my interviews, I did really well on my interviews, got kind of pretty much all my university places, and then went to university and then really, really enjoyed it. So I was kind of a bit of an anomaly. Like, I kind of just went in thinking, oh, this sounds really fun. And then I adore my job.
Yeah.
And then when I graduated, I moved to Manchester with my best friend, and we worked in a big tertiary unit up in Manchester for a few years, which I adored. And I didn't ever realise that that's where I love work. Like, I really love the high acuity. I love kind of tertiary work.
Yeah.
Whereas when I was training, I didn't always think that was where I wanted to be.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Whereas I think when you're working in it, you really get a love for where you like.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and then I contacted you to move. So that's kind of about me, really.
Yeah, and I think going grounding your skills in a big tertiary hospital is like so important for starting your journey into international practice, because I don't know if you felt, when you got to, I'm going to come on to talk about that a bit more, but when you feel confident in your ability, that would have helped your confidence to make your choice to go, I think.
Yeah, massively, yeah.
And obviously your family, must have thought, well, Ellie she likes to, spread her wings and fly, because you'd moved out for uni and then obviously gone to Manchester. Yeah. And then you probably rang them and said, now I'm thinking about going to Australia.
Well, it's so funny. I remember going around university with my parents, and I remember thinking Leicester was this really big city, because we live in the countryside, there's no real big cities near us.
No.
And I remember thinking Leicester was this really big, scary city. And then obviously kind of settled into that and realised it really wasn't. But
it was a good transition from countryside to Leicester.
Then to Manchester. And then, but I remember when saying to my parents I was going to move to Manchester, they were like, oh, it's a big city. And then
And
then
when you told them you're going to Australia, so they're like, oh.
But I can't really remember their reaction, actually. I think they were just really happy for me.
Oh, that's so nice.
I can't remember their reaction to they were just really happy for me.
Aww.
Yeah. I think in it, obviously a bit worried. I think you would be, wouldn't you, as a parent? Yeah. But they were super positive.
Yeah,
yeah,
and they've
really
watched
supportive.
you make those transitions as well, and you're obviously very independent woman. Follow your dreams. So.
Yeah, they were really supportive. Yeah.
I understand that you did a placement in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
And we spoke earlier about how midwives are such warm and welcoming people, and we kind of had this vibe, and I think that's why the Olive community get on so well. But how do you think that experience sort of shaped you?
It was phenomenal. I went out with one of my good friends, and I think just realising how little they had gave you a real appreciation for, even being, we complain about the NHS being underfunded and there's not enough equipment, but like really silly things like they use gloves for tourniquets, and they're really innovative, and they really think outside the box. It was really eye-opening. It was phenomenal to watch, and just everyone was really friendly and really welcoming to us. It was amazing.
And their culture, like they are quite like warm and welcoming people as well. And I guess like you probably learn a lot about how to build relationships with people that are actually from a very different cultural background. Maybe they have completely different religious beliefs to you as well. But like, I feel like, did that really, you know, being able to make a connection with women that are from a different country, speak a different language, etc.
Definitely, yeah. And I think, I mean, it's within your job anywhere, isn't it? You're always going to come across people that are from different backgrounds to you. And I think learning how they, you know, communicated and different cultural backgrounds and things, very interesting.
Because in Melbourne, like, it's so diverse.
So diverse.
And I learnt so much, and there's so many beautiful things within people's culture that they do surrounding pregnancy and birth that I was almost like, I want to embody that. Like, I want to do that when I have babies. Like, that's such a great idea. Like, you know, I learnt about confinement and, you know, and I think that's another beautiful thing about Australia is that you will service a very diverse population.
And more diverse than I probably thought.
Really?
Yeah, I think, cause I've always worked in big city units in the UK, so obviously incredibly diverse. And I don't know, I just didn't realise it'd be as diverse, but I'm really glad it is, because I think it's really good for your personal development, and I think it's just interesting.
Yeah,
it's just
really
so interesting, isn't it?
And from people from that side of the world, you know, like there's a big population of Vietnamese women and Chinese women, and you know, obviously we have, you know, people from Vietnam in England and everything, but not on the same level.
No,
you know.
And I think we have the hospital that I'm in, we have a big kind of South Asian population as well. Just so interesting, and
such lovely people.
Such lovely people.
I know. And they often bring in like homemade food, and I'm like, they're like, do you want to try some? I'm like,
absolutely.
It's delicious. Yes, please.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's so nice. So I was just looking back over your journey, and we first met in September 2023.
Yeah.
So 2 years.
Yeah, a long time ago.
And so much has changed for you in 2 years.
So much has changed.
And for me, I've had a baby.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I just thought I'd bring you on, see how your journey's been. So what made you want to go to Australia? Like, where were you in your career, and what was the sort of turning point that you were like, right, I want to go?
So I'd been qualified, I think, about coming up to maybe 3 years.
Yeah.
And I love my job. I love being a midwife. But I think I really wanted to travel. And it was a way of being able to travel for me, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I've always been interested in how healthcare works in other countries. Yeah. And I think I saw an advert, for Olive.
Did you?
Yeah, I think I saw an advert. And then I just reached out and thought, why not? Initially, I was supposed to come out with a friend, I think, who was a speech and language therapist, but it wasn't going to work quite right for her. But I actually ended up moving out with a couple of other friends from university in the end. So it worked really, really well for us, but kind of changed the plan as we were going.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to experience something else. And I thought, what's the worst case? Like, if I don't like it, I just come home.
Yeah, and I say that to people all the time. I'm like, you're never going to regret doing this, but you probably will regret if you don't do it.
Yeah.
And like you said, what's the worst can happen? Like, you
just
go,
come
you
home.
experience it, you come home, nothing would have changed. So, and then when we started working together, I think we just established about 7 or 8 months, wasn't it, through the process?
Yeah.
And so when you were like sort of starting that process, what did that look like for you? Did you find that there were many challenges? Were you like, was it quite smooth for you? How did that look?
I mean, I was very grateful for you. One of my friends did it on her own, and I don't think I quite realised how much there was going on behind the scenes. She was like having to read a book to like try and sort out a visa, whereas I could just text you and say, is this correct? And you say yes or no, which was very helpful. I think I was kind of clueless.
Yeah.
Like I kind of.
Well, I'm not saying yes, you were clueless, but it is when you don't do it or you've never done it before, you don't know how to. But when you actually go through the process, I think at the end of it, you're like, oh, actually that was
Yeah,
right, you know,
yeah.
like, and then that's what I always say about visas. Once you've applied for one, you can then go on and apply for one and feel much more confident of how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think I just applied thinking Australia will be fun, and then I just didn't quite realise everything that goes along with it. But it, like you said, it was it felt really smooth because I think you gave a really good timeline of 6 months is, I think I remember you saying to me, 6 months you are going to have to be quite on it, but it's definitely achievable.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought that in my mind.
Yeah.
I want to be out there in about 6 months.
Yeah, and did you know, like, obviously because you've never been before?
No.
Did you know where you wanted to go, or because I remember we were having conversations, and at Olive, obviously what we do is we'll say, like, this is the opportunity we have, but we really want a place for longevity, so we want you to get to the right place and the right location. Obviously that comes with its challenges, but how did you feel you got to the decision about choosing Melbourne? Like,
I remember being in between Melbourne and Sydney, and I think the more and more I spoke to, I think I'm definitely more suited. I've been to both. I'm definitely more suited to Melbourne.
Yeah.
I think I'm still in that period of my life where, like, you know, I like going out, having fun. I feel like Melbourne's really social. Like, that's all I can really say. I remember when I first started work, I said everyone was just so friendly.
Yeah.
Everyone's really, really friendly.
Yeah.
And then I was also swayed a bit because my friends were going to Melbourne as well. So it just kind of felt the right fit for me, really.
Yeah, and I think what people don't realise is, like, if you're on the East Coast, it's so easy to just, like you say, go on holiday to places. And I think, you know, I do, when I start speaking to people, I do get that vibe almost immediately of, like, oh, she's probably more suited to Sydney, or she's probably more suited to Melbourne, or she has a family, she doesn't want to be in the hub and bub, so maybe she needs something slightly further out and things like that. And that's kind of, I just get this, because I've lived there for so long, I kind of get that kind of inkling of what that might suit that person. So I'm so glad that Melbourne obviously was the right choice.
Yeah,
you
definitely.
know, for you.
Yeah.
You know, you go through the process with me, 6 months, 7 months, and you're like getting on that flight, and then you fly that flight, which is like, no one actually can prepare you for how far it is. Even now I get on the flight and I'm like, it is really far. But then you get off the flight into your accommodation and you're kind of doing all of the tasks that I've kind of prepared you for to set yourself up. How did it feel being in Melbourne? Like, take yourself back there and, like, what did it feel like?
Well, I remember I was really pleased about the sunshine. That was nice. That, like, softened the blow a bit for me. But yeah, it was really surreal. It was really surreal. I was really lucky that the friend that I was speaking to about earlier that works at the Women's, she was already out there, and I've got a good friend from university who lives out there as well. He's from Australia. So they kind of took me under their wing and, like, kept me quite busy. And we went down to Sorrento, down in the Mornington Peninsula for a day, and that was really, really nice. So I was just kept busy, really, but it was fine. Like, I remember thinking, right, I start work in 2 weeks, and I had, like, certain things to tick off. I had a meet and greet with my now manager, and some of the education team at the hospital, and they were so lovely. Like, showed me around, took me for a coffee, like, really, really nice. And I think that eased my nerves a little bit because I knew they were just so lovely, so friendly.
I just remember the birds. I know this is really random, but the birds make such weird noises, don't they?
Yeah,
and
really
I remember
loud.
like, I got there in June and I didn't bring a coat. And I didn't realise that it was going to be cold.
Yeah.
So they were like my first, like, key memories of Melbourne. But I guess for you, like, you were, because I didn't know anyone there, but for you, kind of like swept under somebody's wing, off to Sorrento. That's fabulous.
Yeah, it was so nice.
Yeah.
It was so nice. And I think it probably did take my mind off what, like, it was such a big move.
Yeah.
And then I started work like 2 weeks later. So I was quite busy.
Yeah. So, and with housing, like, did you go into, like, temporary accommodation?
Yeah.
And how did you find, like, that whole transition into, like, finding, because that's one of the questions that I get asked a lot at Olive is, how do we secure housing? A lot of people talk about, like, the housing crisis and how competitive it is. I've never had a candidate struggle. Like, honestly, I feel like you have to put in the work, like, you have to go see quite a few houses.
Yeah.
But how did you decide, firstly, what suburb you were going to live in? And secondly, how did you actually find getting a house?
So I knew I wanted to live on the east side just because of work. So obviously being the hospital being down on the east side, I kind of knew I needed to be that side of the city. I knew city life wasn't for me. I knew I'd want some form of being able to go to the beach, parks. I knew I'd want that.
You want the Australian life.
Yeah, I knew I'd want an element of that as well.
Yeah.
So I could kind of narrow it down to that kind of area. I chose an Airbnb when I first went out there. Just stayed in an Airbnb for like 2.5 weeks, I think it was.
Nice.
In an area that I thought I wanted to live in. And then I honestly just walked around. Like I spent like a couple of days just like walking, just hopping on the tram to different areas.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's when you really have a feel about where you want to be. I'm not actually far from where I first went.
Really?
So I stayed like South Yarra, Windsor area, and I'm in Paran. So like I'm
She's
very
in
close.
such a nice place, guys.
Yeah, I mean,
like literally.
Yeah.
Do you know what? It's so funny because, you know, the suburbs in Melbourne are very different as well. Like, don't you find like
really different?
There's quite a big contrast between, say, if you lived on the west or the east side.
Yeah.
But that's like
really nice.
You chose well.
Yeah,
You chose
I'm really
really
happy, and I
well.
feel really safe. And like I say, I'm quite into my running. So like I can go to the park, I can go down to the beach. I'm quite close to Elwood Beach. Like I could just kind of go
My
down that
favourite.
way. So
People hear me talk about Elwood.
yeah, it's so nice.
Literally. So talk to me more about Paran. Describe it for people that don't know Melbourne or Australia.
Mm-hmm.
What drew you there, and what do you love about it?
I'd say Paran is suburban, isn't it?
Yeah.
But still, I can walk and get a coffee. I can walk to the beach, the park. Really, really lovely brunch like spots around, isn't there?
And there's got some really beautiful, like, if you think of architecture in Melbourne and the sort of like wrought iron, like frontage houses, with the picket fences,
that's
and
where
a little
I am,
driveway.
Yeah.
Is that what are you
Yeah,
living
yeah.
in a house
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that?
yeah.
But a lot of the houses are weatherboard as
Yeah.
well, so they're not often brick houses. They're like weatherboard. And they actually, a lot of them don't have heating or cooling, or they have electric heaters, which sounds crazy, and they do get colder in the winter.
They do.
But they don't often get too boiling hot. Like you have to have quite a few weeks of hot weather for it to actually get hot, and then it will.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I always remember, like, I don't know if you felt this when you came home, but when you walk into houses in Melbourne, and Paran is this as well, a lot of the time they're all on one level.
Yeah.
So the ceilings are really,
Really high.
and you've got all of these beautiful like cornices and things like that. And when I came back to the UK, I always felt like the houses were quite like low. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean when you say that. Yeah, they are. They're beautiful, like high ceilings.
High
aren't they?
ceilings, lots of light,
Yeah.
lots of natural light. You can literally walk out your front door and stroll down to the coffee shop.
Nice. Yeah.
Beautiful. Obviously, Paran, South Yarra, that area is quite popular, and a lot of people do want to live there. Did you have to look at a lot of apartments? Did it come up quite quickly?
Yeah, so I now actually live with someone that I play hockey with, which is so good.
Are you playing hockay out there as well?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I played hockey out here.
You keep telling me you're going to come home, but you're
I
just
know.
like selling me this dream right now.
I remember when I first moved to university, my brother said, I've always played hockey and he's played rugby. And I remember him saying, play sport and you'll always find friends. So I joined a hockey team and met some wonderful people. And then I now actually live with a friend that I play hockey with, which is so nice. It's actually quite nice to have an outlet that's not work.
Yeah.
I've always lived, my best friend from home is a midwife, which is lovely to debrief, but I think you do become a bit consumed with it.
I literally could not agree with you more.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about that in a minute, because I think obviously we build this Olive community, but it is made up of healthcare professionals. And I think sometimes when you're living, breathing, sleeping work, it's such an intense job.
Yeah.
And obviously with the visa that you're on, you're full time, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really lovely that you've sort of joined a sports team, made some friends, and now you're living with somebody that obviously has no connection to midwifery whatsoever.
Corporate, yeah.
I bet
no
you're looking
connection.
at her, him, and going, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I wish I had a
free
corporate
lunches and free flights and
But then you've just had how many weeks off work?
yeah, 7 weeks. Yeah. It's nice.
So I don't think the corporate world would allow
No,
that.
yeah.
You won't be able to save up your ADOs and your annual leave like that.
No. But yeah, it's worked really, really well actually.
So
Just fallen into things. And I do think the more you speak, people are offering like free rooms. A lot of people sublet as well, like, which I know like a lot of the girls have done. People are going travelling, they'll sublet their room for a couple of months, or like that's how it kind of...
Yeah, I think, there is a lot of, people are really apprehensive about the housing situation, but we really do try and have those kind of in-depth conversations about what do those suburbs look like. I always say to like the Olive girls, like, if you found a house and you want to run it past me, I can have a look, even though I've not lived there now for 4 years. I've got so many friends there that I can say like, what's this street like, or whatever. But no, it's I think like I said, you've chose really well, and the fact that you have that separation from work, because I think that sometimes it can actually, when you have like a problem at work and then you start talking about it and then you talk about it more and it kind of blows it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I watch the other Olive girls, and sometimes they start living together and then they'll kind of broaden their network, and then they're still really great friends, but one gets a boyfriend and they move out. Absolutely. Or one gets a girlfriend, moves out, and then you kind of like end up sort of, living with somebody else, and I think that's actually quite nice.
Yeah, really nice. Yes, it's worked really well for me.
Yeah, good. Okay, so you're settled in Paran, you've joined your hockey team, you've been down to Sorrento. What are you enjoying the culture, like the food? Talk to me about that. Have you got into coffee?
Insane. I've always been into coffee.
I should have made you a fancy coffee today, but we were short on time.
That's all right.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, do you know I've noticed coming home I'm a real coffee. Didn't I say that, Granddad? I am.
Well, I wouldn't put it quite like that.
He's being kind.
He's being so kind.
You seem to have more refined taste.
There you go. More refined taste. Yeah. That might be a reason not to come home.
So I'm really sensitive to like bad coffee.
Are you?
And it's just so good. It's just so good out there.
Yeah.
And I think as well, it's a really nice, I said about work, how it's a really nice culture. Someone will go down to get a coffee and it's like, who wants coffee? Like there's like a big coffee order, and on the nights did the van used to come round?
No, I've never had this coffee van. But Rosie, who we were talking about earlier, who's literally
Rosie and
another
I love
Olive
the
dream, she's another one of my just beautiful candidates. She put a picture up the other day on the middle of a night shift, 3 a.m. with a coffee van outside.
I introduced Rosie to the coffee van.
Did you?
Yeah.
Of course you did. You're welcoming all the Olive candidates.
And so they come down, they like do a tour of, there's like 2 guys, and they open up the back of their van and they do a tour of all of the hospitals in Melbourne, and they'll put on a Facebook group like, we'll be with you in 5 minutes or whatever like that, and then you get a cot, you go down and then you can fill it all with like coffee for everyone.
Because you get your breaks.
Yeah.
You get your breaks, don't you? Because you've got, especially, do you do day shifts as well, or you like your nights?
I do a lot of nights, just because I'm full-time, and I think it works better for my work-life balance. Yeah. But then when I'm on days, I go, oh, it's really nice.
Because often you can have the double staffing as well sometimes. Yeah. Oh my God, so if you want to go out to Melbourne, not only are you going to have this amazing lifestyle, but you're also going to get a coffee van at work.
It's very good.
So when we moved back, that was obviously, again, for me, and we're really bougie in this house, so we've got a La Marzocco coffee machine, and we also get our beans from America.
That is bougie.
Not Melbourne.
That is bougie.
Well, when I go to Melbourne, I do get them, but it takes a little bit longer for the beans to get here from Melbourne. Yeah. Do you know what? I feel like London does have some really great coffee spots.
They do, yeah.
But I just am not in London. So my husband works in London, and he's in Shoreditch, and he's like, Olivia, you've got to come to Shoreditch more. Like, there's some amazing coffee spots. So I feel like we do have it. It's just less accessible, and I think that's another thing about Melbourne, the public transport. So have you got a car now, or what did you do about that?
Yes, I haven't actually got a car,
but you're still doing your...
my housemate has a car, and I use it all the time.
Oh my God, this person sounds like so nice.
Yeah, bless him. So that's been really good, and I have been thinking, if I'm going to be staying long term, I probably will get a car. Yeah. But the public transport's been so good. Yeah. I haven't really felt a need, if I'm honest. Yeah. If we go like away, either someone's got a car or we rent a car.
You can do like WeGo and things, can't you? Like really easy.
Yeah, so good. Yeah. So we've done like loads of like long weekends down to the Grampians and the like the Great Ocean Road and.
Yeah. So tell me about your travels, because did I see you in a camper van?
Yeah. So we did. So my best friend and I, we did New Zealand for a month, which was absolutely phenomenal, like unbelievable. Yeah. So we had this bright yellow camper van.
Yeah, that's why I remember it.
Yeah. And we always say we're really glad we know each other very well because there was not much space. But it was so good. It was so, so good. It's beautiful. And it was only 3 hours for me from Melbourne. So it's actually really close.
Yeah, so with that then, so did you just save up your annual leave or did you sort of spread out your shifts and have some extra time?
Yeah, so I think it was about 2.5 weeks of annual leave, and then I did nights either side. So I did like 7 or 8 nights, and then you get a week off, and then my 2 weeks of annual leave, and then a week off, and then I came back to like a big run of nights.
Yeah, I think that's the thing as well, like obviously with the visa situation and the fact that if you want to be sponsored and you want that security of, because ultimately when you have a sponsored visa you pay less tax, it's easier to find housing because you have that security. You know that you've got a contract for that period of time, because I think we touched on sort of friends doing agency and cancelled shifts and, you know, lots of private midwifery work. But it's nice to hear that, even because one of the biggest challenges is the full-time work, and that's what I hear a lot.
Oh, absolutely,
You know, you want to go to Australia for a work-life balance, but you have to work full-time on those visas. It's a government requirement. There's nothing we can do about it. And I think that is one of the biggest challenges. But it is nice to hear that you are able to have time to come home and see your family, have time to go off and do your travels. Yeah. But then you're still earning really great money. And I'm assuming that you feel better off financially.
Definitely, yeah, definitely better off financially. I think it depends what you want from it. Like, I think some of the girls are really happy they really like the lifestyle of 8-hour shorter shifts.
Yeah.
And they like the fact that you get up early in the morning, you go to work, and then at 3 o'clock you're done, which I also really like. But I think in order to be able to travel, which was my main aim going out there, I find that doing big stretches of nights and then I can have a bit more time off just suits me. It's not pleasant when I'm doing it, but it just depends what you want.
Yeah, you probably don't want to recommend 7 night shifts in a row.
Yeah.
But if you've got something that's really motivating you at the end of it,
absolutely. Yeah, it just depends what you kind of want from it, I think.
Yeah.
Whereas some of the girls, like, that is not why I came out there. Yeah. And actually I'm really happy to just save up my annual leave and go every now and again. Yeah. Whereas it just suits me. It just suits me. So I think everyone's very different with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good.
But I haven't found the full-time, I really haven't found it awful. Like, I know some people do find it really, really tough. Yeah. But I haven't found it awful.
Yeah, I think it also depends. Like, if you're coming from working part-time in the NHS to then going to have to work, I think it's actually not awful, but it depends on mindset, because I worked full-time the entire time I was in Australia.
Yeah.
That was obviously before the pay rises and things like that.
Yeah.
But I think, it just depends on your mindset. And I think if you get it in your mind that this full-time work is a pain, then it is really challenging. But I think if somebody like you, very positive, and you that's what it is, and you sign that contract, you're working full-time hours, it just ultimately is what it is. But obviously if this becomes long-term for you, you could have now applied for permanent residency, you can go off and do, I know we've spoken a little bit about, what the future holds, and I know you're very happy at work now. But, in the future, if you wanted to go do some regional work or go and work with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people or the communities out there, you can.
Yeah.
And that's so nice. Obviously, you've settled yourself in. Mm-hmm. You had your 2 weeks to get everything done and you start work. It's your first day.
Yeah.
How did it feel? Like, you walk into the hospital. What were your initial reaction to the environment that you were working in? And then how did that look for you with the support that you got and things like that?
I remember being really nervous, obviously, but I was on the ward initially, so I had 4 weeks on the ward, so the antenatal and postnatal ward, which isn't in my comfort zone anyway, if I'm honest.
We knew that,
but I knew I had to do it, so I was like, I'm going onto a ward in a hospital I didn't know, and I was really nervous, but everyone was so nice. Like, that's all I can say. Like, everyone that I've met at the hospital has been really, really beautiful. Like, really, really nice. I met a couple of the Olive girls. A couple of the Olive girls were also working on that shift, but they were just so everyone was so friendly. The fun scrubs, I think I noticed like really early on, which is just so nice.
Such a novelty.
Such a novelty.
And you've got some really good ones.
Really good ones, yeah. I still find it a bit of a novelty.
Yeah. I like it though, because there isn't so much of a hierarchy. Like obviously you always know who your leader is or your in charge is, but when everyone's sort of mixed up and there's not like a colour, hierarchy and things, it's actually quite nice.
Yeah, it is.
And what about the space? Because obviously I know the hospital you're at, it's not one of the newest ones.
No.
But there are some new sides to it, like part of the hospital is quite new. Like how did you feel the space compared to what you were used to? How did you find the logistics of like allocating the workload? Because obviously I know there's ratios and things.
Yeah, the ratios was obviously a big shock.
So you'll look after like 4 postnates or antenates in the day.
Which was a real shock.
And now it's 4 at night.
They're just changing it. I don't think it might have come in since I've been at home. But I know it had been approved prior to me leaving, but they hadn't actually changed it. But yeah, I think they're trying to get 4 at night as well. It was a huge shock. I remember being in with women, and usually you're like checking, being like, oh, I've got to get gone because I've got so much to do. And I'd end up just like having conversations with women, which was actually so really nice. But I still have moments where I'll be like, oh, I need to like get gone, and then I'm like, no, I actually don't. Like, no. I'm fine. I've got time, which I think is really nice. And there's a lot more education, which is lovely, really nice. And there's not as much pressure from your in charges to get people gone. It doesn't feel as much of a conveyor belt as I think as it does at home. But yeah, that's...
And what was the space like? Were there, because I know there are still shared wards where you are.
Yes,
obviously, labour rooms, which are, do you have pools there? Like, things like that?
So we've got one pool, but I think because it's the tertiary unit, we tend to try and allow low risk women to go kind of elsewhere and keep it for our high risk women. But there is a pool there and it is still used, which is good. I think they've recently done some fundraising to try and get like big projector lights in all of the labour rooms, which is really lovely. Which is like a big cake sale and raised a fair bit of money. So all of the rooms have got projectors and what do you call them, like Bluetooth speakers and things like that women can connect to, which is really nice.
And there's a wellness room for the staff.
Yeah, there is.
I went in there and had a little had a go on the massage gun.
Can I call it a boob room?
A boob room.
So
we're talking about the same one.
Yeah, the code to get in there is 8008.
Oh, boob.
So everyone is like, oh, go to the boob room.
Because they've got like a salt lamp in there. Like, nice, like cosy area.
It's really nice, and a lot of people use it overnight as well because it's just like a real relaxing place to go and have a little night shift nap or something like that, which is really nice.
Obviously, I know it wasn't all rosy. You were definitely, I remember catching up with you and you'd been like, oh, just a little bit apprehensive, a little bit unsure, lots of changes in practice and different space and things like that. What would you say were your biggest challenges with work that you faced initially? And then how did you overcome those, or how did you move past those challenges?
I think a big change for me was I think our hospital is quite unique, isn't it, that we have both public and private within the hospital. So even though I'm employed by the public hospital, I do care for private patients as well. That was a huge transition. I think you don't have the autonomy because they're not really my patient. And so I think that was a big barrier initially. But then, and they do things that aren't, within as much guidance.
Guidelines, Just for people at home, there is quite a divide in Australia between private and public healthcare. And I think what that means is some pregnant people choose to go down the route of having a private obstetrician. So whether that's a female, a male, somebody that cares for them from the beginning all the way through birth and then through the postnatal period. So they get this complete continuity of care, which is lovely. But these obstetricians sort of operate within their own ways. And where Ellie's working, the private obstetricians have bed rights in that hospital. So they bring their their pregnant people in to birth, but that you might be the midwife allocated to that room, so you're still there to care for that person. But ultimately, you're doing sort of what that obstetrician wants for that person, or that person wants for their birth. And it's that delicate balance, isn't it? Because that person has a really fabulous relationship with their primary caregiver, so the obstetrician, and has made plans about what they want for their birth and their baby and themselves. And then you're there as well, like trying to build a relationship almost instantly, and also understand what those plans are. So it's very different than working along, you know, in the public system where you work within the guidelines and what happens within that space.
Yeah,
I think
that's right.
Well?
Yeah. But I think initially, I think it is similar to just moving anywhere with work. I think you go from a unit that I felt that was very well respected, very well trusted. Your in charges try and cater your caseload to what they really think suits you.
Yeah.
And then obviously you move anywhere, even if it was in the UK or Australia, it's new guidelines, new people, new faces. I don't know, like where the toilet is, you know, like it's just like a completely different work environment. I think my advice to any and the new Olive girls that are coming out, just like trust the process with it, because you will settle, you will get to know people.
Yeah.
And I think now my caseload, I'll listen to the handover and I know which woman I'm getting.
Yeah, really.
Like, you know,
That's
just
so
and
nice.
they really try and cater like what you are good at and what you enjoy.
Yeah.
And they try and cater that to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can kind of like, you will listen to the handover in the morning and be like, yeah, I kind of
You
know
know
I'm
who
getting
it
that
is,
room. Or
That's so good, because I talk a lot about being comfortable in the uncomfortable, and I think when you're feeling really uncomfortable in a situation, it might be new, you know, and you can look at it in two ways. You can go with the flow and let it be and settle in, or you can try fight against it. And I think if you do go with the flow and let it be and carry on, and you're still very much aware of it, and it might end up being, you know, this isn't for me, but that's where you grow. You know, you grow as a person, you gain confidence. But it's only natural, like, you know, I'm sure the obstetric team were asking more questions of you because they didn't know who you were.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you were asking questions of them as well, because you didn't know who they were.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think, you know, if whatever you choose, when you come back, you will be, you know, a different midwife in a positive way. Like, you would have grown so much.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to hear that, you know, you did feel uncomfortable, but you were able to just carry on, and now you feel very settled and people know who you are and they know your skill set and they want to, you know, empower you to have the people that they know you'll sort of work well with, which is really nice.
And I always say to the other Olive girls, be really proactive in making sure that you're still doing all the skills you were doing at home, because the skills of a midwife out in Australia aren't necessarily the skills that we're taught here. So I think there are a lot of clinical skills that the girls that were Australia trained don't always do.
No.
So I think it's quite easy to slip into, well, that's
won't
not
suit
expected
you.
of me as my job role, because there's nothing to make you do it. So I always say be really proactive at the beginning, get everything signed off, and then you can just kind of practice how you were doing here. There's not a huge amount of difference, I think, in the public system when you've been signed off for everything, which is good.
So next you'll be labour ward coordinator.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Why not?
I don't know.
But the, you know, opportunity in Australia, I'm sure people have started to come to you and be like, do you want to be a clinical midwife specialist? Like, have you thought about this? And that's really nice.
Yeah, it's really nice.
And I feel like you should definitely think about that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so what's next? Like, what do you think? I always say you don't have to have a plan, but, you know, you're home for your holidays, you know, you come back to see your family, you've come back for your wedding. I know that you're going to obviously go back.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? Like, what's the future hold for Ellie in the short term?
Yeah, I think I want to do a little bit more in Melbourne. I'm really, I've actually kind of extended. I thought to myself I was maybe going to go a little bit earlier, but I think I'm going to extend, and then I've been at the hospital for about 2 years. And then I think I want to do some like remote and regional work. I think it's something so different that I don't think there's just nothing really comparable in the UK, is there?
No.
So I think see where I go with that, but I'm very loose, like just very loose plans. Don't have anything too strict.
You're just going to go back and get a really good coffee.
I can't wait.
That's definitely on the list.
I can't wait.
Okay, so you've obviously been in Melbourne for 18 months, over
Mm-hmm.
18 months now. Where are your top 3 places? You could do a couple in Melbourne, one somewhere else if you wanted. But if for somebody that's coming, like
Yeah.
I've got so many Olive girls travelling
Yeah.
at the minute, what would you recommend?
So I think where I am at the moment in Paran, I think I go and get a coffee, well, most days, but I live really close to the morning market in Paran, which is it's just so nice. It's like loads of fresh produce. Everyone's so friendly in there. Everyone just like sits outside on the street and has a coffee, which is so nice. So I think that's really, really nice.
Yeah.
Down in the Mornington Peninsula is just beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
My best friend and I, we went down to the Peninsula Hot Springs. So like down there is really, really beautiful.
And they've got some new bathhouses down there now. Like bathhouses are becoming like a huge thing.
Yeah.
So like anywhere down there.
There's some in like South Yarra, like around there, I think now as well.
Yeah.
So that's really, really beautiful. And then I don't know where else.
What about when you went off on your travels?
Oh, just the whole of New Zealand is just like absolutely stunning and so close. Like I would definitely recommend anyone. I think it's really easy to just go up the East Coast because it's just like 1 hour internal. You can just go up to Sydney for the weekend, which is beautiful. And the Great Ocean Road's like so easily accessible, isn't it?
Yeah, but go to New Zealand.
But New Zealand's, like if you can, definitely try and go over to New Zealand because it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
So good.
Okay, I'm there. In February, I'm coming. If you were to start this all over again and you were going back to September 2023 and you could give yourself one piece of advice so that somebody else, another Olive candidate that's just starting their journey, what would you say?
Honestly, I'd just say go with the flow. Just be really, just relax because everything will happen. I remember I had a bit of a delay with my visa and I was going, I'm really stressed about it. And I remember everyone saying, you will end up out there, like it will happen.
Yeah.
So just try and relax and not worry too much about it. And I think in terms of work as well, I think, like you said earlier, I think you can get yourself really caught up in what's different and it being a negative.
Yeah.
But I think just really relax into it and try and see the positives in everything. I feel really, really settled in my work at the moment. And everyone's so nice, just so lovely, which I think really helps. So I just think make friends, say yes to everything. Just say yes to all these social events and seeing people, even if it's just going out for a coffee or going down in your break to get coffee with a colleague. And I think it opens up conversation, doesn't it? That
100%.
you might not have said, you would have gone, actually, I don't know them very well, so I'm not going to go down and get coffee with them.
Go to the coffee cart at 3 a.m. with somebody that you don't know very
Always
well.
just say yes to opportunities. So I think that's probably my advice
So
to
that's
people.
2 pieces of advice. Go with the flow and say yes.
Yeah.
And I think the third thing should be a bit more like Ellie.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? Like, be a bit more like you. We all need to be a bit more like you in our lives.
Very
Because you're
kind.
so lovely. You really are. And you should feel so unbelievably proud of yourself. And I'm sure, like, your granddad feels so proud of you and your parent, honestly, because it takes such courage to make such a huge commitment and transition to go and live in another country and then to go and work in your profession that is actually quite stressful sometimes in another country. So I just think you're amazing. I think what you've done is fantastic, and we all need to be a bit more like you.
Thank you.
So so I've been Olivia. This is the Olive YouTube channel. Thanks so much for joining us. If you want to see more and see more conversations with people like Ellie, then please subscribe below. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.